No.
All right. Going on, the Ramhal says that the three reasons here for creation was to judge and test, to reveal His attributes, and there is a psalm that says, "I will praise you, Hashem, because you have poured your wrath on me." Now,
come in the first door, closest to the end.
Now, what in the world is David talking about here with why God would create something to pour His wrath on him? How could that possibly be the top reason of creation? Well, what is David talking about? He's talking about Hug, the dance of Hasidim and Guvurot. God created the world so He could have the dance of Hasidim and Guvurot. Straight light, curved light. His straight light emanating out, His curved light returning back to Him. This is how worlds are created. A lot of them, as we're going to get in, it's going to be constriction, expansion. It's going to be breathing in, breathing out. Every time this happens, a new world is created. And this is what David is talking about in this psalm. Okay. We're going to go on further here. The Ein Sof had the desire to be called the merciful. But if He's to be called the merciful, He has to have something to have mercy upon. And therefore He has to have something to judge, which alludes to the Ramhal's first reason for creation. Because if you're going to be merciful, you have to have something to judge. So therefore, you have to create darkness first. As with this, so it is with all the other attributes which the Creator is known by. If he's gonna create, He's got to create. Creation's got to be able to create. If He's going to be empathy, if He's going to be victory, if He's going to be love to fair balance, if He's going to be knowledge, if He's going to be wisdom, all these things, these are the whole construction of the whole sporadic structure. In essence, the purpose of creation was for God to bring into actuality His names and the attributes that only exist in a potential form of or pashut of the Ein Sof. So God has to create, He has to take Himself and subdivide Himself in order for what's going on in His thought to actually come into existence. And this is the ultimate shattering of the vessels. When God is divided, which is a deep concept. Now, prior to discussing more about God's name and how He desired to be actualized, we must first ask the question. Rabbi Haim states that the desire for creation arose in the center of the Ein Sof, at its very center point. The obvious question is, being that, as we discussed earlier, that the Ein Sof is infinite, it has no border, it has no form, where's the center point? Having a center by definition means there must be a type of form up and down which is away from the center, yet without any reference, how can infinity have a center? I should leave you hanging, Rabbi Bartzadok says, to contemplate this matter, but I'm afraid you might draw the wrong conclusion, and that would be bad. Again, the question is, how can infinity have a center? The answer is simple. You have to remember not to apply physical standards, measurements, and judgments to a lofty state of preexistence. In the Ein Sof state, there is no sense of physicality whatsoever. Therefore, the concept of a center point cannot be understood by referring to any point of, cannot be understood by referring to any point of proximity in relationship to another point. Besides, Since when does a desire have a geographical location? The center point of the Ein Sof is something much different from a physical point of reference. The center of the Ein Sof is the desire to be actualized, in essence to exist. Prior to creation, the Ein Sof can be said to be anti-existence, meaning inverse, opposite, everything that was to come. In other words, what he's saying is, the Ein Sof himself is everything that there is on here except the opposite of it. Within the very nature of the Ein Sof, within every point of its non-being, there was a desire to be. In other words, the Ein Sof had a desire to be, had a desire to exist. He had a desire to activate. He had a desire to action. It's like having a brain with no arms or legs or fingers or nothing. Except the arms and legs and fingers and everything exist, but yet they're inside. So what he has to do is turn himself inside out.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the center point. That's exactly what he does. He turns everything that's on the inside of his thought, and he turns himself inside out. Now we have creation. But that's what is now concealing us from it. This existence will require the manifestation of being. Each aspect of being is called a name. There were the names that the Creator sought to be manifested by. God's essential name, of course, Yud-He Vav-He, the spoken Havayah. This four-letter name has a root form, the verb Hoveh, He, Vav, He, which means to be. In Hebrew grammar, when the Yud is added to the verse, it turns into an activator. And it activates the verb and transforms it in the future tense or the command tense. So God's essential name, therefore, can be defined as an active being or being in action. Thus, creation brought about the existence of God's name. Yet this name would not have made any sense unless there was a state of being or creation. This being comes from non-being. And I know this is a hard concept, but this is the most difficult thing to wrap your minds around, is how it all got to be. This is taking something that exists somewhere else and making it exist in another spot. Or taking something that is lead and making it gold. Because you're taking it from one spot to another spot. From a level of lower to a level of higher. So if the Ein Sof is the highest possible level of everything, there's nowhere to go for creation but down. And so once we're all the way at the bottom, there's nowhere for creation to go but up. And that's the whole reason for creation, is for it to make a loop. Him to send blessing down, us to return back. Send blessing down, us to return back. Making a loop. Kabbalists have always zealously guarded the secret of matter transformation. Stories abound how Kabbalists have created living beings, animals or man, out of thin air. Stories about golems should not be dismissed as pure myth. Formulas for making them have not been lost. Indeed, Rabbi Chaim himself, in his commentary to the Sefer Yetzirah, hints to such formulas. They're in there. Go look at it. A more full version of the formula is found in other texts. The manipulation of matter is a spiritual science. There exist specific techniques on how to accomplish this. There is no magic or art involved. It is pure formula, spiritual knowledge. Anyone possessing the proper knowledge, ingredients, and how to follow the formula correctly can do it. Among the ingredients for this work are the knowledge of, there's somebody at the back door, are certain uses of the holy names of God. This is probably the biggest guarded secret of all the rabbis, is the holy names, use of the holy names. And hopefully